With Arsenal eventually getting the job done against Porto in the Champions League, there was a few players that really stood out for the Gunners. And for me, one of the best players on the night was definitely Jakub Kiwior. However, this was a very different performance from Kiwior that we haven't seen before. But why was he so good, and why is he guaranteed that left back spot for the future? Let's get into it. Now, overall, I don't think Arsenal were probably better than Porto, and I think they actually really struggled in the two legs. Considering how good they've been in the Premier League, it was very much different, and I think we weren't really ready for the style of play that the Champions League offered. But nonetheless, we got through, and that's the main thing. And I'm sure that we're going to actually learn a lot from that game and that performance as a whole. And we've learned more about our team over time, but I think in this game we all learned stuff about Jakub Kiwior. Maybe even himself he learned about more. Now, it's no surprise Jakub Kiwior has been brilliant the last few months. He's been a mainstay in that left back spot, and I think everyone wants him to consistently start. He's a very solid defender, he's very good on the ball, and his passing is actually very decent, so he works in that back line, helping the other team pass it around. I also think his movement has improved a lot. He overlaps and helps the winger on the left side, and he also gets back in positions when we need him to. And in this game he was definitely doing that, don't get me wrong, but I think we saw a lot of different levels to him, and I think he is really becoming a complete player for the team. And the first thing, and the thing I want to talk about most in this video, is his composure. In this game, a lot of players definitely got nervous. We even saw Gabriel and Saliba make lots of sloppy mistakes, and I think Jorginho was a bit overwhelmed in some times. But Kiwior stepped up. He was very confident back there, and there was many times where he was getting pressed very hard. They clearly thought he was a weak link and went for him a lot, Porto, to do their press. And it didn't even matter, because Kiwior would always wait for them to come towards him, go past a player, make a really good pass, and make great movement to help the players around him. I remember there was a moment where he was getting really intensely pressed, and I thought, oh no, he's going to lose the ball, and he did this little skill around the attacker just to keep the ball and let us keep going. And it didn't ever seem to phase him. There was many times as well they came down his wing. I think one time Porto got past him pretty easily. Every other single time he was pushing them out, getting a goal kick for the team, and doing really good tackles, being very quick on it. You can tell he's such a natural defender, and he understands now that left back with the roles that he needs to do, especially when he comes into the middle when Gabriel moves out wide, where to be and where to help the team. And I think he's really becoming an assured tackler and assured player out on that side. And Porto like to try and diversify their attack. There was a lot of times that Costa, their goalkeeper, do really good passes and try and get them down the wing early, and usually when it went on Kiwior's side he actually had it covered. He was so good in the air, he won all of his aerial duels, and he was very good at being calm and heading the ball back to the defenders, but also just heading the ball out if he knows there's no one near him and he needs to just get rid of the danger. He's very alert to things, and I think a lot of the time Conceição really struggled out on that wing and had to keep coming in the middle to actually get away from Kiwior and sort of give problems to other players that weren't really necessarily playing as well for Arsenal. And I think in defence he really stood up because he was the one that was the most composed on the night, which is crazy to think. There were so many times where he helped Gabriel and Saliba, especially when he was running back. The big moment obviously that we're going to talk about now is when Porto caught us on the transition and they had a bit of a 3-on-3. Now Kiwior had to run back to try and catch the runner, and he does so well to run back so quickly. I think it is Conceição who's running down the middle with the ball. Now this is a great area for him to shoot, and there's a lot of space because Saliba's covering the left guy, so he doesn't really pass it in there despite him eventually coming narrower. And Gabriel is trying to stop that Evangelson run and trying to make sure he doesn't get that rebound, but because of that it gives a lot of space for Conceição to get a shot away. Now because Kiwior does brilliant recovery pace and getting back, it allows Gabriel to actually eventually move into that Conceição space. Despite this, obviously he still gets the shot away because he's closer to the goal, but he is just outside the box and he could have got further in there without Kiwior tracking the Evangelson run. Now despite Evangelson being offside, what Kiwior does next is nothing short of brilliant, and I still think it's worth talking about despite obviously him being well offside. Now Ryan makes the save and he parries it right out in front of him. Kiwior knows that he can't really get to the ball with first time. He needs to be stronger in this position, so he uses his strength to actually push Evangelson away from the ball and eventually get himself in between the goal and the player. This means despite Evangelson having the advantageous position before, he has no longer got that, and he can get a shot away, but Kiwior has a leg stretched out to block it, and realistically I know it's offside, but that does save a goal. And I think it just shows how strong in defence Kiwior is, and also how smart it is. That's a very smart play, not to overreact, just be calm and get yourself in between where you need to. And I think that is something that I was very impressed by him by all night. I also think out of any of our defenders and even our defensive midfielders on the pitch, the intensity that Kiwior showed was probably the best. He actually was very smart in picking up positions on that left side of when to press and when not to. Now this is something I think Porto were much better than us over the two legs. They seemed to work much more as a team and weren't very nervous. They were very fearless and understood when to run and when to press our team. And because Porto actually came to the Emirates and had a lot of the ball, they pressed us to make mistakes and they kept the ball quite a lot. Kiwior was very good sometimes of actually running up the pitch to the left side and helping him. I think Trossard was much better because Kiwior kept getting the ball for him and kept giving them that overlapping option. And I think he would have struggled without him doing that. And while Arsenal liked to have a man-to-man sort of system when they didn't have the ball, I think he was the one that was the most comfortable of coming into the middle and actually following his runner. He didn't mind where he had to go and he was always quite physical in the tackle. Now, I think some of our players really struggled with getting pulled in different positions that they didn't really necessarily want to be in. And I think it actually suited Kiwior being a bit more free and being able to run around. And there's many times where he was very open when we had the ball and finally in possession we're getting pressed by Porto. And Kiwior would do brilliantly out on that side to do a great pass or be composed on the ball. And I think his performance was amazing start to the finish. And I think when he came off in the 105th minute, we really saw the downgrade of the team. However, I do think it's mostly down to his composure. I'm very impressed the fact that this player was really sort of worrying us against Fulham because he had to invert, and even other games he didn't look great defensively like the PSV Champions League game. And now suddenly he looked so composed, so amazing. He was definitely the most prepared in our defence for that game. While obviously Ben White, you could argue, has a harder role, has to go a lot more forward on the ball, I thought Kiwior really outperformed any of them in defence and was really an underrated star for us this game. But I have seen a lot of credit to him, so he's not necessarily underrated. And I also think at Arsenal, Kiwior is one of the players that not necessarily gets on the ball a lot because he's a bit nervous and maybe he doesn't want to get into play and he wants to just sit there and defend. But this game he really was there. He was there available for the pass a lot of the times and really had great positionings around the pitch. And I don't really want to be negative about players, but when Zinchenko came on, he obviously came on to be a bit more of a passing creator to get us more up the pitch. And that simply didn't work because his passes weren't very good. And he seems to have lost a lot of the pace that he had before. I don't know if that's down to injury or a long-term thing, but hopefully he can get back to the starting level because I think we all are clear that he should not be anywhere near this starting 11 right now. While him and Kiwior are different players, I think Ben White inverted has been much better than Zinchenko inverted recently. And when you got Kiwior as probably the best defender out of all of them, then I would rather have Kiwior playing, and he deserves his spot. We should be keeping the people who deserve their spots in the game. And now while I think Jorginho often struggled in this game, I still could understand him starting, but maybe dropping him to the bench and playing Jesus up front would be a valid option now. I think in this game, Kiwior was our most technically consistent player over the 90 minutes, and I was ashamed that he actually had to come off in the end. He looked knackered, he did a really good job out there and was a solid defender while also being a brilliant passing option. He has really come into his own recently in the last few weeks, and he is definitely the starting left back now. When Timber does come back from full fitness, which obviously is still far away at the moment, you've definitely got a headache there, but I don't think Zinchenko or even Tomiyasu can really compete with Kiwior at the moment, and he deserves his moment in the team. Let me know what you guys think about Jakub Kiwior's performance, and let me know what you think about the whole defence against Porto and what you think about the Champions League game last night. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about this video. If you like my video, go and watch my reaction to the game earlier I did today, and if not, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.